Unusual disturbances have begun appearing off the coast of Naples. What first seemed like harmless surface ripples has become one of the most closely monitored geological events in Europe. Fishermen were the first to report long chains of gas bubbles rising through the water. Thermal imaging soon confirmed that these warming zones were not caused by sunlight or shifting currents, but by heat and gases pushing upward from beneath the sea floor. Scientists reviewing the data reached a single conclusion: a deep magmatic system beneath southern Italy is becoming more active, and the area in question is not a typical volcanic field. It is Campi Flegrei, the burning fields, a caldera nearly 13 kilometers wide with a documented history of explosive behavior. It sits directly beside Naples, placing more than 3 million people inside a high-risk zone. For decades, the region has shown unrest, but the signals appearing now differ in both scale and pattern. Since the 1950s, parts of Campi Flegrei have risen more than 4 meters through a process known as bradyseism, the slow uplift and subsidence driven by shifting pressure in the hydrothermal and magmatic systems below. The town of Pozzuoli has been especially affected. Streets have tilted, ancient structures have warped, and shorelines have lifted. This long-term rise is not new, but recent measurements reveal a sharp acceleration suggesting the pressure source beneath the surface is changing rapidly. Satellite radar and GPS stations recorded movement that cannot be explained by shallow steam alone. The pattern points instead to magma migration, one of the main reasons scientists have raised the alert level. Offshore, the most dramatic changes are unfolding. A section of the seafloor between Pozzuoli and the Bay of Naples is actively rising. Thermal drones have recorded water temperatures increasing by several degrees. Dozens of new vents have opened on the seafloor, releasing carbon dioxide, sulfur compounds, and helium. Their gas ratios match signatures linked to deep magmatic sources, evidence that molten material is heating underground water and forcing gases upward. At the surface, the water now seems to simmer. It is not boiling, but constantly disturbed by escaping gas. The last time this effect was widely observed was in the 1500s, shortly before major geological activity reshaped the coastline. The region's most recent eruption occurred in 1538, creating the volcanic cone of Monte Nuovo. It was small compared to what this caldera can produce, yet it followed similar patterns: uplift gas discharge, earthquake swarms, and pockets of ground heating. In the final days before Monte Nuovo formed, witnesses described the sea churning and releasing dense plumes of gas almost identical to what is now being recorded. This does not mean an eruption is imminent, but historically these signals appear during phases when the system undergoes critical internal adjustment. Campi Flegrei is currently experiencing persistent seismic swarms. Small earthquakes are occurring at shallow depths, many less than 2 kilometers below the surface, and dozens can strike in a single day. The concern is not only the frequency, but the upward migration of quake sources. This trend suggests the crust above the magma body is becoming increasingly brittle. Some volcanologists describe this stage as mechanical weakening, a process in which rock gradually loses strength after repeated cycles of uplift. Each episode leaves behind microfractures, and over decades these fractures accumulate. As a result, it now takes far less pressure to create new cracks that could allow magma or superheated fluids to rise. Volcano observatories rarely see multiple major pre-eruptive indicators activate at once. Campi Flegrei currently shows 3: accelerating ground uplift, increasing gas emissions, and intensifying shallow seismic swarms. Each signal on its own is manageable. Combined, they indicate a system under growing stress. One volcanologist summarized the situation with a strictly factual description: the system is approaching its mechanical limit. This is not a prediction of eruption, but a measured conclusion that the crust is thinner, weaker, and more fractured than in previous decades. Even without a magmatic eruption, the system can produce hazardous events. If superheated water beneath the seafloor suddenly flashes into steam, the result can be a hydrothermal explosion capable of ejecting boiling water gas and rock fragments at high velocity. Such events can occur with little warning and can reshape coastal or marine areas within seconds. Current bubbling and surface disturbances suggest that superheated fluids are close to their stability threshold. This is why scientists are continuously scanning for abrupt temperature spikes or pressure drops across the region. A century of repeated uplift has altered the crust. Several scientific studies conclude that Campi Flegrei's crust is now mechanically compromised. Fractures are more interconnected, pressure distributes differently, gas pathways can open rapidly, and the overlying rock requires far less energy to break. This cumulative weakening is why many researchers believe the system is more sensitive now than at any point in recent history. Scientists outline several possible scenarios ranked by likelihood. The most common outcome is continued unrest without an eruption, a pattern observed in many calderas that enter active phases and later stabilize. The second possibility involves hydrothermal or phreatic explosions, shallow steam-driven events that can damage coastal zones. A third scenario is a submarine eruption where magma reaching the seafloor interacts explosively with seawater. The least likely but still part of the long-term hazard profile is a magmatic eruption on land. The magma chamber beneath Campi Flegrei spans a wide region including parts of the Bay of Naples. Recent imaging shows partial melt in deeper zones, challenging older models that assumed most of it had solidified. The Italian Civil Protection Department has raised the alert status. Monitoring stations have increased, evacuation routes are being reviewed, and siren systems are being tested. Officials emphasize that these measures are precautionary, not predictive, but they mirror responses taken during the 1983-1984 crisis when uplift and seismic activity forced tens of thousands of residents to evacuate. Current protocols aim to detect any escalation hours or days before a major event, though scientists acknowledge that hydrothermal explosions may offer little or no warning. Some geological models propose that deep channels could connect Campi Flegrei with the magmatic system beneath Mount Vesuvius. Evidence remains limited, but the possibility influences hazard planning. Pressure shifts in one system could in theory affect the other, an interaction observed in other caldera clusters worldwide and still under active investigation in Italy. Gas composition offers additional clues. High carbon dioxide levels indicate deep magmatic degassing. Helium-3 signals material derived from the mantle, and sulfur compounds reveal high-temperature hydrothermal pathways. The appearance of these gases offshore shows that the system is venting heat and pressure as it reorganizes itself. Each rising bubble is effectively a data point marking movement, heat transfer, and stress changes deep within the crust. The simmering water is not true boiling. It is the surface expression of a pressurized system beneath one of Europe's most densely populated regions. The current activity does not confirm that an eruption is approaching, but it does confirm that the system is active and evolving. Campi Flegrei is not dormant. The caldera is adjusting, redistributing pressure, and broadcasting unmistakable signals of internal reorganization. Scientists continue to monitor ground deformation rates, gas compositions, water temperature anomalies, and changes in seafloor elevation. These measurements form the foundation of real-time hazard assessments. In a region shaped by thousands of years of volcanic history, the disturbances off the coast of Naples serve as a reminder that active calderas do not rest. They evolve. The goal is not to predict an exact moment of eruption, but to understand the trajectory of the system. And right now, that trajectory points toward increasing activity, accelerating deformation, and higher gas emissions than in previous cycles. For researchers, this is one of the most important observation periods in decades. For residents, it is a time of vigilance supported by constant monitoring. The sea is bubbling because the crust beneath it is changing, and every shift, every gas release, every microquake is part of a larger story unfolding deep beneath southern Italy.